This is how I passed the brand new Claude Certified Architect exam in just 2 days of studying. Now, to be honest with you, I'm not super technical and I didn't really use Claude before studying for this exam, but in just 2 days of really intense studying, I was able to achieve a 743 out of 1,000 score on some pretty complicated AI topics. How the heck did I do that? Well, today I'll be going over 1, why this exam is so important, 2, details about the exam like exam structure, question types, and topics, and 3, my ultimate Anthropic CCA exam study guide, where I'll be going over the exact strategy I used to pass the exam, as well as the same strategy that I passed on to 10 of my colleagues for them to pass the exam as well. And they all did. And a big tip for you, honestly, the official Anthropic study guide, practice exam, and courses, while they are very useful, by themselves are not enough to pass this exam. So enough of this intro, let's get into it. So why should you care about this exam at all? Well, it's the first official AI certification in the world from an actual frontier model lab, which is Anthropic, and they're the current enterprise AI leader in the market right now. And if you get it, it's a solid sign of expertise in implementing actual AI systems. It also looks great to employers. One of our friends passed this exam recently and got the certification, and he went into an interview and the employer was just blown away by him having this cert on his resume. For us at Nextworks though, it's the first step for us to become an official Claude implementation partner. Most importantly though, going through the process of studying for this exam will teach you real-world AI design and architecture methodologies. Now that you probably want to take the exam, what does it actually cover and what do the questions look like? So here are the 5 topics that the exam covers. 27% of the exam is agentic architecture and orchestration, 20% is Claude code configuration and workflows, and another 20% is prompt engineering and structured output. 18% is tool design and MCP integration, and 15% is context management and reliability. So it's quite heavy on Claude code related things and agentic architecture and orchestration. To say the least, it's pretty cool stuff. Maybe a lot of it sounds complicated to you, but after going through all of the studying, it'll make pretty good sense. The exam is 120 minutes and 60 questions, so you get around 2 minutes per question. And the exam has 6 possible scenarios, these 6 scenarios, which you'll get 4 of on the test. So each of these topics has around 15 questions, and you'll get 4 topics on the test, so 4 times 15, that's 60 questions. And it'll cover things, as you can see here, like AI support agents, AI coding pipelines, and more. Now, the easiest way that I can describe the type of question the exam is made up of is SAT-style comprehension questions that require you to recall very specific technical facts that you'll learn over the course of studying, mainly from the official Anthropic study guide, actually. It's a combination of critical thinking, basically understanding what the question is and what they're actually trying to test you on, as much as the technical knowledge itself, and that's what makes this exam so difficult. So let's go through a few example questions here, so we can see what it's like. And hopefully I don't get any wrong, because I shouldn't. Okay, so this is for Claude Code for continuous integration. You can see the description of the question or the module type here. You are integrating Claude Code into your CI/CD pipeline. The system runs automated code reviews, generates test cases, and provides feedback on PRs. Okay, so a PR modifies 14 of the files across a stock tracking module. Your single pass review, analyzing all files together, produces inconsistent results. Detailed feedback for some files, but superficial comments for others, obvious bugs missed, and contradictory feedback, flagging a pattern as problematic in one file while approving identical code elsewhere in the same PR. How do you restructure the review? So it seems like you're basically just passing all of the files in at once, and it's missing like little code errors within the files, as well as errors that would arise from wrong code across files. Let's say a function is defined in one and then you're calling it wrong in another. That's kind of like you got to think logically like a coder would. I guess I'm not like super untechnical, so I know this kind of thing. Switch to a higher tier model. That's never really the answer. Run 3 independent review passes on the PR, on the full PR, so that just does the same BS 3 times, so not that one. Split into focus passes, analyze each file individually for local issues, then run a separate integration focus pass pass examining cross-file data flow. I think it's this one. And then require developers to split large PRs into smaller submissions of 3 or 4 files. If you're not analyzing the files one at a time, there's still not a guarantee that you're going to do well on those little bugs. So I think it's that one, and I'm correct. Okay, we have our multi-agent research system, and in this system, in this scenario, test scenario, you're getting a multi-agent research system that you're building, and it delegates to specialized sub-agents to search the web, analyze documents, and generate reports on things. Okay, so let's read this question. The document analysis sub-agent frequently encounters failures when processing PDF files. Some are corrupted, some are password protected, and sometimes you just time out on large files. Currently, any exception immediately terminates the sub-agent and returns an error, which must decide to do, what to do with the pipeline. This is causing excessive coordinator involvement in routine error handling. What's the most effective architectural improvement? Okay, so clearly it's pushing too much of the buck onto the coordinator to interpret the error and figure out what's going wrong and figure out next actions. So we want the sub-agent to do more. Local recovery for transient failures. That's usually correct. When there's a timeout error, like a transient error, you do want to propagate that or do local recovery for that. Create a dedicated error handling agent. Yeah, don't do that. That's not the right answer, because you want, the agent to handle the error within itself for context reasons. Have the coordinator validate all documents before. Yeah, don't do that, because that's the sub-agent's job. So don't make the coordinator agent do that. And then configure the sub-agent to always return partial results with success status. Yeah, that's just like straight up the sub-agent lying and us not handling errors gracefully. So it has to be C. And that's correct. Okay, we're going to do one more question, guys. Okay, so we got a customer support resolution agent case. You're building a customer support resolution agent using the Claude Agent SDK. The agent handles high ambiguity requests and tries to resolve most of the customer scenarios before escalating. You get some MCP tools: get customer, lookup order, process refund, and escalate to human. Okay, so the production data that shows that in 12% of cases, your agent skips get customer and entirely calls lookup order using only the customer's stated name, occasionally leading to misidentified accounts and incorrect refunds. So, two people might have the same name. What change would most effectively address this reliability issue? Okay. I'm thinking it needs some kind of hard rule where you have to get two identifiers. So just before I even look at the answer, the possible answers. Enhance the system prompt to state that the customer verification is mandatory. Yeah, that's not going to work. It might ignore a little tiny instruction in a big system prompt. Implement a routing classifier. Yeah, no, there's no reason to do that. Add few shot examples showing the agent always calling get customer first. That is a good strategy, but it's not deterministic, which you want it to be. So, you definitely don't want to, you want to avoid these kind of errors. So it has to be C. Add a programmatic prerequisite that blocks lookup order and process refund until get customer has returned a verified customer ID. That's correct. And yeah, as you can see, that's correct. Okay, so that's a bit about the exam, but how do you actually pass it? Well, here is my ultimate Anthropic CCA exam guide, and I'm going to share this with you in the links in the comments. And it basically includes an intense 2-day study guide plan to pass it. Now, I do warn you, I really do want to warn you about this. This exam is not easy at all. In fact, it's pretty difficult. I would recommend that you have some significant familiarity with AI systems if you want to attempt the pass in 2 days. Otherwise, you really should study longer and really take in the material before you try taking the exam, because you can only take the exam once in every 6 months. Now, as I said, I am not the most technical, and I actually did not have that much Claude-specific experience before trying to take this exam, but I do have a lot of experience designing and scoping AI solutions and use cases through the sales side of my own business. Basically, here's what you should do in order. And I'm just going to run through this study guide real quick. So the first thing you got to do, right, you see, 2-day battle plan, 10 hours doing the skill jar courses and looking at Anthropic study guides, taking notes, and then 10 hours for practice questions and things like that. First thing you want to do, definitely take the courses. There are these 4 in the Anthropic skill jar You have to be logged in, by the way, and you just run through these. They have, some of them have like some coding things using Jupyter Notebook, like a Python notebook, which I think would be this one, or building with the Claude API. This is all the other ones take like an hour to get through, and this one takes like, you know, six hours to get through for me. And you can see that in here they have both the video as well as like a Python notebook and all these notes. Now, I don't think you need to go through the Python notebooks. I actually did go through all of them, and I don't think they helped me that much. Maybe they cemented some concepts in my head, but I didn't really need them. And then the videos and all of the notes are basically the same. So I would recommend either just watching the video or going through the notes, and probably the video if you're not going to do the Python notebooks at all. So you need to go through these 4: Claude Code in Action, Introduction to Model Context Protocol, Introduction to Agent Skills, and then Building with the Claude API. One quick note, this one, Introduction to Model Context Protocol, MCP, it's already included in the Building with the Claude API course right here. They're the exact same lectures. I think they have a different quiz, so you just have to click through the quiz on the other one. But yeah, don't waste your time and do it twice, just in case. And yeah, these will come with quizzes and things like that to make sure that you're actually listening, and you have to pass them and stuff. So after you take these 4 required courses from Anthropic, which will take you, I would say, around 8 hours, then you get into diving to studying for the exam. So one thing to note is that a lot of the course material really isn't on the exam, as it doesn't include all the little technical facts that I mentioned earlier that you need to know to pass the exam, but it is 100% necessary foundation knowledge to understand it at a high level. Just don't spend too much time on it. So now I'm going to go through the official Anthropic study guide. There's a lot of good stuff here. This is where you're going to see all the little micro technical facts that are necessary to pass the exam. But putting these things into actual practice in a real exam setting, like questions, is a real hurdle. So it goes through all of these specific scenarios, and all of these little facts you will need to know. So go through this in high detail. I would highly recommend it. It has some basic practice questions as well down here. Wow, all the way down here. Yeah, these, and then it has like some practice exercises for each of the scenarios. Now, you don't need to do them. I didn't do them. I would just read through this entire thing and take very good notes. So after you do the 12 kind of easier practice questions on this study guide, I would immediately go to this source called, and by the way, this is all linked on the study guide, but Cert Safari. So Cert Safari, the question types are mixed, I would say. They're not the best, but they are adequate. They're AI generated based on the study guide, and they keep revising it and making it better as well. This is a great way to get familiarized with the style of question on the exam, and I would highly, highly recommend going through maybe 50 or 80 questions on this before you do the official practice test, and just get a good feel on, trying to decipher questions and stuff, because that's actually half the battle, and the other half is the facts, as I mentioned earlier. Right. So then you want to take the entire official practice exam. This is the link to it. It's the questions that I just pulled from. Absolutely take this all the way through once you get enough practice with the Cert Safari questions, just to see where you land on your first try. And I will warn you, these practice questions are probably a whole third easier than the actual exam. So the exam is quite hard. And I would just retake the practice exam until you hit 90%, basically. 54 out of 60. It shouldn't take you that long to do the repeat attempts, because you're going to know the questions, after you take it once or twice, right? So then I would do a full pass on any notes that you took on the study guide, because all the facts, are needed from there. And I would speed read your course notes if you took any. And then I would review the Claude Certification Guide Study Guide. This link right here, they basically go through each of the domains. They do have practice questions on this, but I don't think there's just not that many of them. But they do go through common traps for every single one of the topics that we mentioned earlier. So this is incredibly useful for digesting all of those study guide facts in a more actionable way, I would say. So I would absolutely go through this in high detail. Then I would do 60 questions on the mock exam site, this mock exam site specifically. And these have much more, probably the most similar questions to the actual exam, except with the exception of the official questions from Anthropic. So I would go through this. And then, yeah, that's it, guys. Like, really, after that, you should be completely ready to take this exam. And I would just install the proctoring software, and good luck. That's it. Okay, guys, that's all I got. I genuinely hope you found all of this exam prep material useful. And if you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, good luck on the exam, and I hope you pass. I know you will. Till next time, peace.